faces tell the story of our lives. The world has been witness to the diabolical events unfolding in Ukraine the past few weeks. The internal horror we each feel towards the atrocities committed is testament to the fact that human beings have an innate sense of what is right and wrong. Goodness and morality is closely tied to beauty. Evil is universally perceived as ugliness of the soul. If beauty is an emotion, then ugliness is too. Experiencing hardship is often considered as a form of character building. It is probably the best test of resilience. What we should be conscious of is that the story of our past continues to be told in our aging faces. Our emotional memories imprint on our faces the way we were created to be. The face as a dynamic representation of our thoughts, emotions, and our personalities. It is difficult to process suffering, especially in the case of an unprecedented war in our times. As a doctor, I found it very hard to watch the catastrophic destruction of Ukraine. Especially difficult to process were the scenes involving pregnant mothers, children, and the elderly. I take a conscious decision to process everything I encounter because I have a habit of deliberately shaping my thoughts and emotions in a way that I feel is productive. Everything can be a learning experience, especially failures, disappointments, and grief. Yet, I struggled with these terrible images. As a doctor trained to heal and treat physical conditions, to make people whole, these barbaric acts I witnessed, tearing people apart indiscriminately, was simply unfathomable. I cannot begin to understand the difficulties the Ukrainians are experiencing. Yet, we hear stories of such resilience. The small triumphs in such hardship where we see bullying take place resonates deeply with the human spirit. This is an example of how displays of might is right backfires, reminding us of ancient biblical tales like the story of David and Goliath, which have inspired generations after. The human capacity to find a sense of beauty in the face of the deepest, darkest, and ugliest of sins is a special gift that unites us. It has nothing to do with the material and has everything to do with rooting for the underdogs, humanity taking special care not to forget the displaced and the forgotten, the very values that make us human. In the midst of witnessing the cruel acts of war, I find myself consumed with indignation, disgust, pity, and grief all at the same time. It's easy to wonder where God is in all of this. Will the unrighteous go unpunished? Then I realize that our very sense of morality, apologists have argued, evidently point towards the spiritual. As Jesus told his disciples in the Gospel of Matthew, "Do not fear those who kill the body, but are unable to kill the soul. But rather fear him who is able to destroy both body and soul in hell." Then I became much less anguished, knowing that evil will have its just deserts. For now, the world watches on as the experiment of evil, which had begun right in front of our eyes, transforms the visage of one with a nondescript appearance. A self-styled God-man with his army behind the walls of a gilt palace into the epitome of Machiavellianism and evil. When we all start to see with our hearts, we will choose our actions carefully, for our actions make us who we are, and that has nothing to do with how we look like on the outside.